So I'm just thinking, I'm sitting here talking to them about, oh man, like I'm just so happy. I'm so happy. It's such a good day. And I'm just, I'm just going to say, I keep flipping between I appreciate and I'm so grateful, which I know are two different vibrations, but it's both. Oh God, it's just so good. It's so good. But did I say this? I was talking with them about, it's like you feel so loved and you feel so protected. You hear people say that, right? And I hear readers talk about that a lot, how you're so protected and these kind of things, which is so true. All of us really are. And the more you love yourself, the more you really are. So if you listen to my post where they were explaining about the different layers and levels, it is like different layers and levels of protection. You could say of yourself, of your extended self, of your, because it is you when it fills you, that energy fills you. And so you could say it that way, but you can get bumped down or get bumped up according to how much you're loving yourself and honoring yourself. And so, and accepting what is, right? Like where you're at and decide from there. And so, it is kind of like some people are more protected than others simply because they love themselves more, right? And so it can seem like they're favored or protected more because they kind of are, right? Like it's in that sense of understanding the different energies, levels, and layers. So if like you're going up in the ranks and you don't understand all of this and you're using your human eyes and ears, you could see somebody and you're like, oh, they're sweet, they're meek, they're clueless, they're whatever, and don't realize how very well protected they are because they truly love and honor themselves, but they also understand all the rules. And so sometimes that can translate into naivety or childlike wonder or innocence, where it kind of is, and it's also the wisest as well. So it's really, and it's hard to see through that, right? Because some really are naive, childlike, but not innocent, right? They don't have pure intent. And so you can get deceived by your eyes and ears. And it is kind of like the tricks and the traps, meaning there is dark and light, is the best way to describe it for us to understand it and visualize it. But it's more like lesser and greater. But even that isn't the best interpretation or explanation, simply because how we are as humans will then label it as better or worse. And it's just where you're at. And so you have to know where you're at and love yourself, and you can move up. But that does require the work. So if you've always been operating with lower energies, again, you don't realize you're doing that, but if you've always operated from a state of depression or sadness or anger or grief or all these lower energies, and so you were not honoring and loving yourself, so then you weren't honoring and loving others. We talk about it like hurt people, you're bleeding all over the place, then you're bleeding all over them too. And so you're causing more pain to yourself and to others. So it's the idea of karma, right? It's the idea of, but so it's like you're working with a lower energy. All these ways we could say the same thing, but so they don't have the quote ranking of somebody who is in full alignment, who is loving themselves. They're so much more powerful, so much more protected, and it's not so much more loved, but it is. So it's like, this is why it's challenging to verbalize these things, because people can start to get defensive and angry, which is keeping them in that lower state, right? And they get jealous and envious, keeping them in that lower state. It's like they can't get out of their own way. It's the idea of somebody holding on to such bitterness, anger, revenge for so long and waiting to strike. And then they can't, or they do, but they don't realize the backlash. It's like all this nonsense where it's like they don't understand the simplicity of what I'm saying. And so it always becomes like a tick for tat. This is why it's like you don't even know where, when things started. Some people hold on to stuff that you didn't even know existed, or they don't even know you. How about that? Even worse, right? Like, you have no idea. So it's like, who cares, right? The only focus you need to have is, do you love and honor yourself? Do you love and honor your life? Are you working towards loving yourself more, learning yourself more, honoring yourself more by doing the things you love that feel amazing and good and true for you, so that you can, again, spread that joy outwardly to others. And so it's like, to me, it's like the more you hear it that way, it can make it simpler. Otherwise, you could be one of those people who sits and stews and wastes their life away waiting to seek revenge or to strike or all this stuff. And it's like, you don't understand how this works, right? It's like they're cutting off their nose to spite their face, but they're living in such anger or bitterness or all these things, they don't even care, right? Because they don't care about themselves. They don't love themselves. It's like they can't wait to get away from themselves. And so they don't care. And it's like, so even telling them that truth of like, they're only hurting themselves doing that and keeping themselves stuck or stagnant or in that I don't care state longer. It's like they can't even hear that, right? We've talked about it where it's like, you being on top of the well and then being at the bottom of the well, and they have no interest in coming up. They want you to come down. So it's like, you have to walk away and go live your life. Standing there and arguing is just as bad then. You might as well go down. You might as well get stuck down there with them. You're stuck on top. Right? It's like, no, you can't. You got to move along. You have to love yourself that you're not going to waste your time and energy arguing with somebody at the bottom of a well. Why? It's not like they're looking to come up, right? It's not like you put the ladder down and they're like, no. You have to come down and carry me up. No, you don't. You don't need to do any of that. This is why don't look back, you'll turn to salt. It's like everybody has to help themselves. They have to love themselves. And there's ladders all over the place, right? There's tools all over the place. There's information all over the place. And it's like you have to just dive in wherever it feels good. Anything, try anything. I mean, I picked up at everything, right? Like I dove into so many things. And you just have to start doing them. And then you'll finally start to get traction. But it does take work. It does take effort. It does take a desire to feel good and to love oneself and to not stop and to not, it is like not turn back. At certain points, you can't turn back. But in other words, like, let's just say for visualization, say you have 10 layers, right? And you get up, and your goal is to get to layer 10, right? And you're at 0, and you get up to 1, and it was hard as hell, and you get up to 2, and it was really hard, and you get up to 3, and you're like, I can't do it. I can't. Well, you can't go back, but you can be stuck at level 2 and never reaching level 3. And you could be stuck there forever, right? Because you can't go back down to 0. Because you had to get to gate 2 before it sealed off. But you could have gone from 0 to 1, 1 to 2, all day long for lifetimes. But when you finally busted through to level 2, then maybe level 2 gets sealed off. You can never go back. But then you're stuck between 2 and 4 for another 25 lifetimes. But to you, because now that's your new normal, 2 feels like 0, right? And so it's like, I don't know what the layers or levels or markings are, right? Like when it gets sealed off, but there are times, and you'll know because you'll feel it, but there are times where you do get, the best way I can explain it is like sealed off. And so then, but you do have to keep going. So you can't go back after a certain amount of time or a certain layer level, and that happens all along the way. But you do have to put in your part and your effort and do your portion. And it's like that's where you have the free will. And keep aiming for more and higher. And it doesn't stop at 10. I just was using that for visualization purposes for you. But again, it can be such a mind fuck in that each level you think is the level or the end or the best. And depending on how you are wired, you might really have a hard time going up to the next level or passing that layer or level because you think it's almost rude or doing a disservice or you're being disloyal to that because essentially, if it, just for simple terms, it's like you had that ceiling as your God, as your limit, as your top. And so you wouldn't want to go against that. That's what got you excited to get there. But it's like, so many people, that's why, like, I think in religions especially, and that's why, especially since we're using that word God too, it's like that's where they get capped off and stuck. But they're stuck there out of fear too, and they don't realize it. Like, they're afraid to bust through that level. And those people can't even, they can't even hear what I'm saying, right? Like, or understand that. But again, because it's what they have believed for so long and they held true for so long, that they haven't gone in to get to know themselves well enough and love themselves well enough to bust through that and elevate from there. And realize they were essentially praying to a lesser God, right? Because it's higher vibration, higher vibration, higher vibration. The highest vibration of all does not fit in any box, any religion, any label, right? That's why I said God, source, Allah, unconditional love. You can call it whatever you want, but it's not fitting in any of your human labels. It's not kowtowing to you. It's not bowing to you. It's not, no, you don't understand how it works, right? Like, it's like you don't, but you have to love yourself and get to know yourself to understand that, so that you can start to have a relationship with that highest vibration who, my experience, I believe, will help you, because they've helped me all along the way. What are these they're little dragonflies that keep coming up to my window. I love these. I don't know what they are. Are they dragonflies or something else? Anyway. Yeah. That's the best I can offer. It's too hard because you know what it is. It's because it really is individual, right? Just because these have been my experiences, my understanding, my translation, all these things doesn't mean it'll be yours. And if you're holding on tight like a dog with a bone to some theory or belief, and you want to defend it and fight it, you don't need to defend it and fight it against me. You're welcome to hold on to it. It's all yours. You can have it. But I think that's what ends up happening is people get defensive and they're like, no, I know. Well, great. That's wonderful. I want everybody to know. I want everybody to love themselves and fully know and be comfortable with that knowing. And that's what it is. It's like that's what everybody's choosing. And whatever they're choosing, whatever vibration they're at. And I just want to say, it's like we do make it more complicated than need be. It's so not necessary, and yet it is so hardwired into so many. And the best way to say is like they're either dead asleep because they're hardwired into that belief that they're a robot dead asleep. And so they do have to want more for themselves, better for themselves. And I hate to say it, but it is kind of like you have to fight for it. And it's more like you're fighting for it only because you have normalized what you hate. So ironically, you have to fight what you hate, but you're comfortable there and have normalized it and made it familiar. So it seems like a fight and a battle and a struggle to change that pathway and bust through it and break through it to the next level. And that never stops, right? And the more present you stay and the more you do it, the more practice you have, the easier it gets with certain aspects. It's like with that understanding. And with that understanding of how you have to do it, you also have to realize that it is like new level, new devil. So it is like a new level you're fighting that you're not familiar with. So you got comfy cozy there, and then you realized, oh, this still isn't it. Now I want better. I've normalized this. And so now you have to fight that, right? So it's like you have to keep doing that. We're always doing that if we're evolving, if we're loving ourselves, if we're growing, if we're choosing to do that. Okay, I'm going to jump off. Thanks so much for tuning in and listening. You can now purchase an audio journey with me using the link below.